Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmic Portal. Today, we want to discuss the movie Novocaine. Now, this movie did come out a few weeks ago on the 14th of March, and it stars Dennis Quaid and Ryan, what is her name? Meg Ryan's son was Jack Quaid. Now, the movie's quite interesting. You know, his name is Nathan, but they call him Novocaine because he doesn't feel any pain. And he works at a bank. So he finally meets somebody that he somewhat falls in love with, and then the bank gets robbed. So it's an interesting story of how he's trying to get this girl back, along with everything else that's going on and the people involved and all of the action because they're shooting at him, they're doing all these things to him, and nothing really hurts him or anything like that. So it does get a little gory when you see certain scenes, especially when they stab him with a knife and he doesn't do anything. It's like, oh, but I'd have to say when it comes to, I guess, somewhat the plot, it's not a bad movie. I would actually say probably still 3 out of 5 stars because there's some parts in it I'm like, well, that they went overboard with the violence where I didn't think they needed to go as far as they did, and they went there with some of the stuff that happened. What do you think about this movie?
I mean, it's a comedy. I'm not a really big fan of comedies. I like kind of the old school comedies. Um, I don't know. I guess the idea of not feeling any pain, I think it's interesting. I believe is actually a true condition. I believe I've seen it in other movies, so I can only assume that it's something that's not really made up. I do agree with Mark. Some of the scenes was a little bit gory. I didn't mind seeing it, but I don't know. I don't see myself watching it when it came when if it come whenever it comes on TV. I saw it once in the theater. It was interesting. I also do agree with him where there was certain situations where it was like, I mean, really, I kind of was saying that. I found myself bored in a few of the scenes of the movie, just because I think it was just really predictable for me. I think you said that you gave it a three.
Yes.
I would give it a two. I mean, he did well in the fight scenes. That didn't really bother me. But I don't know. There was just times where it was supposed to be funny, and I did not really think it was that funny. That just could be I'm just kind of more of a drama girl, sci-fi girl. But I wanted to go to the movies and see it. Mark didn't. I kind of dragged him along. So I'm glad I saw it, but I was just a little disappointed because I was just I don't know. I just got bored, and it was really parts of the movie was predictable, not necessarily the ending. For me, was something that I was, a little, oh, I didn't see that coming. But overall, I will give it a two.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'd have to say there are stuff that I was like a little bit too much. Um, like I said, you know, I'm just gonna say when he was, I know everybody's seen the scene where the gun fell into the hot oil, and then he put his hand in there and pulled it out and shot. But then there were parts that nobody really thought about. Is that well, he really can't even eat food because he's afraid he's gonna bite his tongue off and bleed to death. So he actually
Right.
blends
Yeah.
all of his meals in a blender and then drinks it. So that to me, how do you not know? And I guess the actual issue with him not feeling pain, but you should figure out. I would just look at my face, make sure I didn't bite my tongue off when I'm chewing something. But that would have been my only issue with it is that he some of the stuff was just a bit overboard. But it's an interesting storyline. Once you figure out, after, like I said, after the first maybe 45 minutes, you're gonna figure out what's going on with the story, and then you can decide at that point if that's something that you'd be interested in. Now, if you have seen this movie, yeah, let us know what you thought. It is in itself an interesting storyline. I doubt they're going to make a part two to this. I hope they do not, but you can never tell when it comes to certain stories. What do you think?
I don't think a part two in this movie would work
Hmm.
at all. So I don't see that. I don't see that happening. And I know you mentioned, when he was eating and he has to blend up all his food, you're not going to go to a restaurant or, even at home and every time you want to eat, have a mirror in front of you. So I think some of that was he was just scared, not necessarily that, hey, if I choose something, because obviously later on in the movie he does, that I'm not going to fill my tongue. I think a lot of that was him overcoming his fears of doing this or this or this and what could happen instead of living life and going for it. So, in that aspect of the movie, he overcome his fears.
He ate in front of somebody else, so that didn't require him using a mirror, and he just stuck his tongue out. He can see whatever. It is a really weak idea why he doesn't eat food. So that's my only complaint about that. But join us next time when we will discuss another movie. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy.